Atlassian is a company with 40 plus billion in market cap, 18,000 employees, and 300,000 plus customers, right? It's been around, everybody knows them. What an exciting place. And now there's the advent of AI. How does AI fit into your product vision?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, Nick, and the Fellows Fund, and it's an honor to be in front of this amazing group here. Atlassian has been in the business of teamwork for over 20 years. And for that entire time, they've used our products like Jira and Confluence, Loom, to track their projects, their knowledge, their goals, all the things that are the center of a company. And over time, we have made what we call the system of work, which is our philosophy, along with a set of tools that we think represent the best way to run the business that's informed by our deep connections with all those customers. We've put AI at the center of that system of work. And we've done it because we've done it that way, not as like an add-on or like an extra thing you pay an extra few bucks a month for, because we feel like AI must be a teammate, not just like an add-on. So we've really thought about this embedding AI across the platform into every app, into all the workflows and processes that our customers are going to do, and we're really rethinking the platform that way. And it's been working. Like, we have already over 3 million of our users using AI capabilities in our products every single day.
Now, that is exciting. Now, the question then is, right, you have an established set of products, you've established users, you now have to innovate, right? You have to bring the AI layers in, the AI engineers in, the AI thinking in. How does a company this size, this successful, introduce new AI into the company, into the product?
Yeah, for sure. So, I think there are really 3 major ingredients here to our own transformation. The first is culture. We are still a founder-led company. Mike Cannon-Brooks started the company with Scott over 20 years ago, and they were 2 students, trying to build software to address teamwork needs. And that culture, even though we're now 14,000 employees, still exists. And we see it because all of our employees watch our C-suite, our founders, still trying new tools. Like, they are actually in the Slack channels with the line employees saying, hey, I tried Replit, I tried V0, I tried all these tools, here's what worked, here's what didn't work, I kind of failed here, does anybody have an idea? And I think by the leaders actively and every day demonstrating that sort of open-mindedness, willingness to learn, that builders, founders mentality, it's spread throughout the company, and it stays that way. So that's one. Number 2 is, again, because we still have a lot of our founder roots and strong leadership, there's a large willingness to throw a lot of resources, a lot of energy behind a generational opportunity like AI. So just in the couple of years I've been there, the number of people who have been working on AI, dedicated to AI at the company, has grown by many hundreds of employees. And that's not, I worked at Microsoft for 20 years. I ran large parts of the search team there, and it was great experience, but I have never seen a company that has moved that quickly on a new opportunity, even the biggest companies out there, including my experience at Microsoft. And that, I think that sort of willingness to go and commit the company on a bet, that's clearly founder-led, that is clearly from the top and not questions, unequivocal, makes a big difference again in the adoption of AI internally and how we think about it. And the last is big moves that complement that. We've in the last few weeks alone, we've talked about acquiring the browser company to really rethink how knowledge works through the browser. We've talked about we've acquired DX, right, to really think about developer experience and how that's transforming and helping out that community, and Cycle, right, which is helping us really increase that, incorporate AI and accelerate that rate where people can take customer feedback and translate that into products. So those have been the 3 ingredients, I'd say, that have really helped us accelerate as a company.
Yeah. So the idea then, there was a panel earlier that said, right, some companies it's all top down, right? It's hard to get adoption and get the buy-in from the other levels. Seems like you guys have cracked that code by making sure that you're pushing down, right? But in general, right, you have these new tools they have to learn. How do you get adoption through? Right, you've got companies here trying to sell to companies like you. How do you get adoption through, and how do they get adoption into your company?
Yeah, for sure. So we've been first thing we did is we built our own baseline tools in what we call Rovo. These are tools that are super sophisticated, but we feel are essential for every knowledge worker to have. And we've distributed them massively, right? So we have, for example, a leading enterprise search capability that's now used by over 3 million customers on the regular basis. We have our own chat capability that is able to connect to a bunch of knowledge sources across Atlassian and non-Atlassian sources. We have our own ability to build agents through a studio, and we've brought that really close to the workflows that people have actually trusted us with. And so by bringing all of these tools right there in everyone's workflows to the tools that they already use every day, we think that really shortens like the distance they have to cover. They don't have to think about, oh, like I got to then open this tool, or I got to open that tool. It's all there, and they can, the ability for them to get started is super, super low. Then the second thing we've been doing is really talking to customers in depth and trying to understand where are their pain points in their business. What are the workflows that really just have high friction? Those are easy targets to go and say, hey, like, even if we make an agent or some sort of AI-driven solution on our platform that can make that problem even marginally better, they're already in a much better place, and those things start getting adopted virally, especially when you incorporate them into automations. Like, a lot of businesses are running automations, and they're able to go and once they see that agent just doing things without even them asking, it just transforms how they think about what AI can do for them, and adoption starts driving quite rapidly from there.
So likewise, in the, you guys have done, Rovo has been an exciting product line. Now you have new acquisitions. How did they all tie in together to your product vision?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, like I mentioned, we started by offering Rovo, this enterprise search, chat, the agent building capabilities, even a box, out-of-the-box agents. We started by offering that to everyone, right? We said that, hey, all of our paying subscribers should just get that out of the box. They should not have to pay like an extra per month price just to get these fundamental tools. Then as we've thought about what are the other opportunities and friction points that are really preventing us from achieving that total transformation, we thought about, for example, browser company, right? Like, if you think about how browsers are built today, like what we've really used for the last 20 years, it's kind of ridiculous. Like the top innovations have been tabs, right? And maybe one other thing, right? Like a couple things. And that makes sense if you think about it, because that entire business model was driven by trying to drive more page views, more impressions, more searches to drive an advertising economy. But if you think about that from a knowledge worker perspective, what you'd optimize for is entirely different, right? You're trying to work across multiple apps. You're trying to keep a lot of context in memory. You're trying to go and understand like how data in app A relates to data in app B, and trying to transform it, doing whatever you want to go do. And that's just an entirely different workflow that does not fit into like a box with a few tabs. And so we're really saying, how do we rethink that? That's like one big area of work we want to rethink and like sort of like express a sharp point of view on. When we look at a company like DX, we really were looking at, hey, like we have so many developers and software teams that use our products, and they're facing this interesting dissonance where, actually this is broad across knowledge workers, where individually, I think people say they are 33% more effective individually because of AI tools. And I could believe that. Like I've definitely had ChatGPT and other tools help me with a few things here and there. But if you ask like organization leaders, they say, well, we think we have transformed our organization at most by 5% relative to our goal. So it's this weird dissonance where you say, okay, like everyone says they're more productive, but the leaders of the organization don't say they're productive at all. And so with a company like DX, it helps you really dive into say, hey, like what is going on here as a leader of an organization? People are adopting the AI tools. How do we go and follow that flow of their work all the way through like output and impact, and figure out where those knots are and how do we untie them? And I think there'll be a whole universe of possibilities there. So that's a couple of the samples. We certainly are not done there, but we're really trying to study like where are all the knots and how do we go in and influence and impact those and untie them so that people can see that impact.
So when and how do you know, like when do you build and when do you buy?
Yeah. So, I think that there's a whole level of depth here. I think that, fundamentally, we've invested a ton in building a world-class AI team at the company. In the last couple of years that I've been there, we've brought in a lot of folks from who built V1 of search, V1 of a lot of AI tools, and the likes of Meta, Microsoft, Google, to really come and help us from the ground up, build on top of our teamwork graph, this world-class search and chat capabilities and agents and all that. Now, I think when we look at where our opportunities, that might require different skill sets, maybe a different point of view, something like that. That's when we maybe look outside. But that's probably a question for Mike. Probably go deeper in. But yeah, I think suffice to say, I think there's a lot we're doing on our internally, just with the talent pool we have, and then when we want to go and make some big swings in new spaces or to enhance something in a radical way, we'll do M&A.
Okay, so one of the areas is obviously Atlassian has a whole big ecosystems of partners and vendors that work with you, right?
Yeah.
So how do you guys enable that? I mean, that AI is definitely right. If you look at all the AI players right there's always a slew of partners right now working with it, right?
Yep.
Atlassian has been a fine example of leveraging a whole ecosystems out there. How do you continue to do that? And what do you intend to do in that arena?
Yeah, for sure. So you're absolutely right that the ecosystem has been a huge part of Atlassian's success from day one, and we have a thriving ecosystem. We're very proud of that. What we're doing as we enhance and embrace the AI era and building all these new tools is first we're thinking about how do all of these other app partners become successful with us? Like how do we join forces? So for example, when we build connectors, we help, first of all, our customers be able to have one place where they can search and access knowledge and perform actions through agents. Great, win for us, win for our customers. But we also think really deeply about, well, how is that company, that partner getting helped? We think about what are the showcase agents, the showcase actions, the demos that we want to go and work on together that help them succeed. And I think that we've really kept that at the forefront of our thinking as we built over 50 connectors in the last 6 months. We've also been saying, how do we go and keep access to our data to our customers and our partners so they can build their own applications and things that extend the ecosystem, extend their capabilities. So we've built our own MCP server, of course. And we've continuously thought about how do we go and make our APIs more and more friendly so that people can access the knowledge, build the tools that they need to be successful.
Great. So, there are lots of, companies out here, they're building new stuff, they're still learning and they're still growing along with it. You've been in this industry for a long time, you've seen a lot of these things going on. What would you say in this AI space, right? If they want to go after enterprise, what should they do?
Oh, that's a great question. So, one of the most challenging things about the enterprise is the second meeting. The first meeting, everyone wants to see a great demo. They want to see how you're going to go solve their problems. That's great. Like you'll get the second meeting. But the second meeting often is the hard one. It's like, how do you work through all of these regulatory needs we have, these constraints we have based on our business because we operate a certain government or a certain setup? How do you make sure that your trust and security and all these sorts of things are taken care of? And that's often where meetings stop, right? A lot of, for us it's actually hard, and I can imagine for a startup it's even harder. Especially with new tools, a lot of enterprises have a lot of fear, a lot of concern about trying to go in and pass through those barriers and make sure they can still testify to their customers that they are following all the best practices. And so what I suggest for a smaller company is to go and find, like, especially in that mid-market area, customers who are a little more open to taking risks, who have an acute problem, right? And those, there are often actually some really notable names in that area, right, where they have a few thousand employees, but they're not big enough yet where they have to go and fight all these battles to get something done. Where often the VP of engineering is also the head of IT, so you can make those decisions and make a bet, right? And it's not like spread out into 14 different departments. That's often a good place to start. Find a few customers willing to go and do that pilot with you where you're solving that problem. And then from there, you can go and gain confidence and say, okay, what are the controls and capabilities I need to go and expand further from there? So,
same context, right? When they're trying to build something, right? Now, Atlassian, you guys have the resources, right? Probably to even, maybe, have optimize, fine-tune your own LLMs and do, inherit reasoning technology and do reinforcement learning. You can do a lot more, right? Companies are just starting out, right? In the AI space, how far along that stack should they do? How much should they do in AI?
Yeah. So my personal belief is that there will certainly be some well-qualified founders and startup teams out there that will push the envelope on frontier models and new ways of the underlying science, doing the underlying science. That's fabulous. But I think where a lot of the sort of untapped potential is actually in applied AI, right? How do you go and do the smaller scale tweaks on the science side, but really rethink the business problems that these companies are having and helping them go solve that? And usually as you have success there, you'll actually have a more informed opinion about where you want to apply the science efforts. It's not the other way around. And I think it's a mistake to go the other way around in a lot of cases. I think, for example, you pick and say, I'm in the legal profession or in the medical profession. As you understand what their business problems are, their customers will start telling you, hey, like I need to solve X, Y, and Z. Like I need help with, post-op, procedures, right? Like how do I go and help people after they've had an operation, take care of themselves? It's a very different problem space than how do you go and manage something on prescription drugs, like just random example. But you won't know that until you've actually gone in and said, hey, like let me understand the problems, and we try to go and see if I can build the first couple of solutions that help you out. And if you understand that, then you'll actually have a much easier time saying, now I'm going to go and make the science investment to fine-tune my own models and those sorts of things.
No, that's great. Now, there's been a lot of discussion, right, earlier on around sort of, the idea that, you can go, like I said, that you can be verticalized, you can go into different segments, or you can, build applied AI, as you said. But one of the key questions around monetization, right? I know, you've got Rovo now, you can write your products. How do you perceive monetization of this AI stack?
So a couple of beliefs here. Yeah. One is that, like I mentioned at the outset, there'll be a set of tools that will be considered fundamental, that everyone should have, and that will be really difficult to go and just monetize access to in the long term. I think they'll be expected to be part of the subscriptions that people pay. And so I think that by trying to focus energy on that, you're probably going to wind up not really having a long-term strategy that's successful in a monetization way. Where we clearly see a lot of push is towards these like outcome-based benefits, right? Like, hey, every time you have like a positive outcome, whether it's a pull request that's successfully entered, a source ticket that's successfully resolved, that's clearly a monetizable event that has clear value to the customer, and they are willing to pay for that. They can also predict that. That predictability winds up being really important. Where we've seen a lot of challenges when you say, here's a pool of credits, go and have your employees go and just use them as they see fit to make their lives better. Companies have a really hard time still trying to understand, what should I expect? How much should I allocate? How much budget should I save? And it's been a real friction point that I've heard from a lot of customers. And that's also why we've invested in companies like DX, right? It's to really try to illuminate, hey, like this is how much you should expect, both on like consumption side, but also on the improvement side and the benefit side. And I think that's a space that's worth taking a closer look at.
Very interesting. So this DX deal, I think, just completed a couple of weeks ago, I believe, right? Yeah. How big is the company?
I don't want to give you false information here. I can follow up with you guys in detail. Yeah.
No, but the exciting thing is that the fact that you guys, you mentioned one thing, right? Is the ability to help engineers, which is you guys are great with, right? Not only on their daily tool, but now into their productivity as well, and into measuring as well. So measurement has always been a key thing, right? That across all the platforms that you guys provide, it's been super helpful with engineers, right? Yeah. So with that said, right, one of the challenges that some companies have seen is the fact that we talked about this earlier as well. They've started investment in AI, but they need to calculate the ROI, right, both from a investment perspective and a company P&L. That's been a little harder to achieve, given some of this early thing. Now, you guys have been all in AI. Your products have been solving it. How are you seeing that the measurement of investment?
Yeah, for sure. So when we first started, much like a lot of you, we started with developer experience, right? And we wanted to go and use GitHub Copilot and all these other tools that were top of the line back then to improve developer productivity. And we started with basics like PR counts and those sorts of things, right? Then that's what opened our eyes to things like DX, right? To say, hey, like there's a bit more of a nuanced story here. And what we're trying to do is like apply that same sort of methodology across all of our functions. So for example, our marketing team, our CMO is leading an AI transformation work stream for her organization. Same with our CFO. And what they're all doing is looking carefully at what are the processes that are just painful for them, that just take extra cycles, or that they wish they could just have extra hands on, and just taking deliberately carving out parts of their schedules and the resources to go and work on their first few agents or tools, or even if they're third-party tools, to go and transform those things. And like I mentioned earlier, they're actively sharing. So even as our CMO, CFO, CRO, they're all like trying out these tools themselves. They're having their teams go try them out, and they are adapting their best practices in real time. And they might, as they kind of get confident, saying, hey, we think there's a soft spot here. We had success with an agent helping us with this process in marketing, helping us update creatives, for example. Then they can go take more specific goals and say, okay, like, hey, we saw some opportunity here. Let's go and actually take a specific goal to save energy or do more here because we know that we have a tool in place to go do it. And we've had every leader go through that process. Even HR team, et cetera, all of them are doing it. And that's been really successful for us. And we are pretty confident now that we're seeing a lot of the gains that people expect.
So, what area do you see, right, from your experience perspective, that you feel like, it's an area that, hey, it's still an opportunity out there for, all these new thinkers, yeah?
Yeah, for sure. So it changes every week, but I'll share two.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So the first is like on a more personal front. I've done a lot of work in youth development and also with countries that have had like lesser means and trying to help their populations out. And one of the things that always struck me is the sheer intellectual capacity that is just locked away because of those constraints, because people are just too young or don't have the means or whatever. And I remember that, when I was growing up, like when you got a PC in every desk at every home finally, right? The original Microsoft vision of all things, like just what that unlocked when internet came out, you had like now these high schoolers and college students creating companies, which has never happened before. I think that there'll be an entire wave of tools that help a lot of these populations get that opportunity. They'll be able to express their ideas in ways they couldn't before. They'll be able to go and actually try out that prototype or build that little company that they previously couldn't before because it was too locked away. One of the companies that I think that's here today that I had an opportunity to be involved in early is Gamma. I thought that was amazing the first time I saw it because I was like, man, like, can you imagine a lot of people who just didn't have the comfort of expressing their own ideas, able to use this tool and now confidently make a deck that is, VC pitch ready, right? Was before like a really difficult thing. Now coming back to the Atlassian context, the thing that I'm really excited about is the browser. I think that I was definitely in the browser wars, neck deep in it. And one of the things that was a challenge in like V1 browser wars was, man, the economics are still the same, right? Like it's fundamentally, it's all about driving more searches, more ad impressions. It's going to constrain the innovation here. And now I think the opportunity for us to go and just completely rethink that and try to make it relevant for the worker again in a way that's truly helpful and makes their jobs just less painful, I think is going to unlock a lot and hopefully create a ton of opportunities for a lot of the companies here.
Yeah, the browser is always an exciting thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it is a starting point for a lot of our work.
Yeah.
And you guys have been the center of work, and now, having that will continue to enhance the experience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know in the last couple of panels we didn't have opportunity for questions. We will try to open up questions for any questions. Anyone here? Any questions? Okay. So, Jamil, companies always want to look at companies like Atlassian, right? Finding the right business, finding the right problems, getting a business, and then scaling. We all want to be that way. Any startup out here, any mid-sized company want to be that way. What's the magic? You've been in Microsoft, you've been in Atlassian. What's the magic to getting to scale and getting to the right level? Yeah?
Wow, loaded question. So I feel like this industry, as long as I've been involved in it, has always been, this sort of like two-step, sort of like first, like, find product market fit, and then scale as fast as you can. Like it's pretty much been in that cycle over and over ever since I was in the early days of search. Yes. And now once again at Atlassian. And Atlassian, even in the last 6 months, we published the Rovo tools, search chat, the agent studio building capability to just a few thousand customers barely a year ago. And now we've scaled it up to support millions of customers, right? And that pace was frenetic just to support that. I'd say that there's a lot of energy that's required to just get that product market fit going. And I find that sometimes there's like a bit of a cart before the horse methodology here where folks will just worry about the scale function early. And that's totally understandable, especially when you're in a big company, right? Like you're so used to having millions of customers. But that's generally not what happens first. That's like not the first bit of magic. And so I think what's really helped us is, or what's I've seen successful is being thoughtful about what your first unit of scale is going to be, right? And saying, hey, look, I'm going to be comfortable up to this point, and I'm really going to go and use that to find my product market fit, and then having a very clear idea of what's going to be required right after that, once you do find product market fit, to get to that next 1 or 2 zeros on the end of your user count. That I find helps control the cost, both the dollars and also just the human cost that you throw into trying to build the system, and not totally draining that from the innovation side, which is often needed to be iterated upon a lot to find that sort of perfect fit on the product side. Even in the early search days, there were lots of times where we built a feature that could never ship more than 10%. But man, we're glad we didn't try that because 80% of them failed, right? And so we just got really good at trying to just go and say, okay, let's try small things. Then found that. Now we can go and scale it up. And then over time, you also will just build the tools in-house that just make it easier to scale over time too.
Exciting.
Yeah.
I don't have any other questions for you. I think one of the things I've always two things in life, right, that you learn, right. Number one is, right, how to solve problems. I've always thought Jira and Confluence, Bitbucket, they're really good at solving problems. And I think that is the fundamental product, right? The other one is experience. I always felt that they gave you a really good experience when you use it. Those two things always propel companies to go a long way. And it's a great example of a company that throughout this, how many years they've been around, with the innovations they have with Rovo, and now with acquisitions, I think they continue to have to introduce the great product and a great experience, right?
Yeah. Thank you. We've certainly invested with that in mind. We're continuing to invest in our products and experiences going forward, and most importantly, we want to delight everyone here. So thank you for the kind words, and we're looking forward to working together.
Sounds good. Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you.